Peach Bowl, Saturday night, Ohio State, Georgia. Georgia 6.5 point favorite here over under 62. This game will be played New Year's Eve, 8 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, Atlanta, Georgia. This will be the third game that Georgia gets to play in this stadium. They played Oregon to open the season, and then, of course, the SEC championship, and now the college football playoff semifinal. I'll let you go first on this. I don't know if we're gonna I don't even know what you like in this game. Make your case for your favorite bet or what you see just from a matchup perspective in this game.
So Ryan Day has heard for a month that he's conservative. He can't coach in the big game. He's heard about how bad he coached in the Michigan game, and the offensive play calling here should be ultra aggressive. I know he came out against that Notre Dame team in week 1 and said, we need to be more blue collar. We need to run the ball. We need to show we can run the ball. Well, I mean, you're completely depleted in the running back room. You're down to Mayan Williams. We don't know if he's exactly healthy or not. So, and plus, when you're going to face a Georgia defense, not just this year, but any year, you cannot beat them in a phone booth. They want to punch you in the face and grind you down. The best way to beat Georgia, Tennessee tried to do it. You have to spread it out as far wide as possible, and you have to try to, get them all out in space. Tennessee, I keep going back to that game. I mean, field conditions, the rain, like they had a drive to cover the spread at the end there. And you have to think after a couple of mistakes, I remember we went back and we said this, like they got behind the Georgia defense 3 times. 3 times they had drops or just miscues. Like it was there for Tennessee to not just cover that game, but possibly win. So you got to think Ohio State can't run the ball. We don't know how healthy Mayan Williams is. The offensive line may be able to, but why would you run into the teeth of this defense on the defensive line? Everything to me points to CJ Stroud throwing to his favorite zone on the field, which is beyond 20 yards and within the hash marks. That is where CJ Stroud has just been able to cook this season. Passes over 20 plus yards this year, 21 big time throws, 5 turnover worthy plays. And like I said, his best zone is the deep one in the middle. Both defenses run heavy zone coverage concepts. They run man about just 30% of the time. And the best wide receivers in this game, Marvin Harrison, 3 yards per route run, Emeka Egbuka, even 3.5 yards per route run when they face zone coverage. And I think the one name that we haven't mentioned a lot because he's had intermittent playing time is Jaden Ballard. He's had limited action this season, but he has the burners to get behind any defense here. The only way that I think Ohio State is going to have success getting points up on the board is to be completely aggressive from the very first snap and letting CJ Stroud go deep. Now, the book out on CJ Stroud, and we've talked about it all year, he has been horrific with pressure in his face. 64 pressure dropbacks. He's had 3 big-time throws and 7 turnover-worthy plays. He takes a 30% drop in adjusted completion percentage when he does have pressure on him. So the question is will Georgia continue to run just a 3-4 man front and try to get pressure with that and send everybody else back, which is what they've done. I mean, you're going to see Georgia doesn't have any kind of pass rush whatsoever. That's by design. They don't like to send a lot of guys. They would rather sit back, play quarters coverage, kind of confuse the quarterback after the snap. And then they kind of show if they're playing man or zone after that. But the only way Ohio State is scoring points here is if they get aggressive and they go downfield. And considering Ryan Day has to hear this every single day for 6 weeks, I think that's exactly what we're going to see. And there's been success. Tennessee can do it. Ohio State can do it. Now you go to the other side of the ball with Georgia. There's so many offensive advantages here against Ohio State has been poor at stopping the explosive play. 125th in giving up explosives and passing downs. So good job if you stop Georgia on first or second down, but then you've got a serious problem about what you give up on the back end. And it doesn't help playing cover 0 against Michigan and not having anybody there at the second level. Maybe that'll change. Maybe Jim Knowles will keep 2 safeties back. But then again, you're allowing Stetson Bennett and the tight ends and you're allowing everybody to work at the line of scrimmage, which Georgia can win there too. Ohio State's 121st in defensive red zone efficiency. I didn't know it was that bad. I had no clue they were bottom 10 in red zone efficiency on defense. So looking at all this, Georgia will have no resistance with whatever they decide to do. It doesn't look like Georgia's going to send pressure because they never do, which allows CJ Stroud to throw to his favorite spot, which is behind the defense. I see points galore here. I would play it up to the key number of 65. I think 62.5, 63 in the market. I love the over here.
Yeah, I don't disagree on the over. I actually like Ohio State after digging into it. I think again that Michigan Ohio State game is creating value in this number, which I think should be closer to 3.5 or 4.
Agree.
And like, so when I look at this from a matchup point of view, and by the way, Ohio State was dealing with injuries on the defensive side of the ball all year. So I think this month, and when they play Michigan, look, Cam Brown, their corner went out in the first half. They were down to like their fourth string running back. And like I said, it was like 4 or 5 explosive plays, which matter, and they've been bad at defending them. But I think that they, on the defensive side of the ball, I think what Knowles does and how he's aggressive and how he dictates with his stunts and his pre-snap movement, not letting Georgia dictate, which is what they do. I mean, Georgia, they use their tight ends brilliantly. Brock Bowers in Washington, I mean, they can block, you can throw them the ball. Bowers can take the ball to end around and out, and he's huge and he can still outrun everybody. They're amazing. I mean, they run 12 personnel, the third highest rate in the country. But I think what Ohio State's going to do here is they're going to put Hickman and Ransom on both of the tight ends, basically man to man. And they're going to have McAllister played free safety. That's what they did against Notre Dame when they held Michael Mayer and the other tight end in check. Both of these guys are very physical, elite in coverage. They are the strength of Ohio State secondary. They are still weak on the outside at corner. You know, Denzel Burke, Cam Brown, but that's not really the strength of Georgia's team is their outside receivers. So I think and Ohio State run defense, 2 broken runs late against Michigan when they were selling out, has been outstanding all season long. They also can really generate pressure with JTT and Company and Harrison off the edge. Their run defense has been good all year. I think their run defense will hang here, and their red zone D has been bad. Georgia's red zone, that's been the biggest question. But I think they can actually match up with the tight ends. Scheme-wise, I think they can cause some trouble for Georgia, and this will be the best. Ohio State has issues on defense, but this is the best defense that Georgia's faced all year. If you look, I mean, like Kentucky, pretty similar. I mean, I'm talking talent-wise for Ohio State. And I think that the month off can really help Ohio State's defense because it's a first-time coordinator. So Knowles getting all this time off plus an extra week, I think can really benefit Ohio State here because he basically was installing the system as a first-year defensive coordinator. So I think that side of the ball will have the biggest benefit from the time off. On the other side, you mentioned it. I think that how you attack this Georgia team is you have to hit deep shots on the outside, which Ohio State is certainly capable of doing. Then you have to, you open up that defense, you make them go 2 high safeties, and then you attack over the middle of the field, which is where Stroud has excelled all year long. So I think Ohio State will be able to have success here on offense, enough on defense to keep this close. Georgia's going to get their points. Stetson Bennett's been awesome this year, but I think it's actually a decent match for us. And I also think Georgia, and I think this is true for Michigan and Georgia. I think both of these teams would rather play these games outdoors in winter weather. I think the fast track benefits TCU and Ohio State in both of these matchups. And so I think the Ohio State speed, just like the TCU speed, can have some success here. I think this line's too high. I'm waiting for 7. I would even buy maybe 7, minus 115, maybe a little more if it never pops. We'll see. I think the whole world's going to be on Georgia. I think that we'll eventually get a 7, and I'm buying Ohio State there. My hot take on both of these college football play. And by the way, you have 2 good kickers in this game, but maybe the familiarity for Georgia's kicker is the difference. I'm going to say both. We've had disappointing semifinals in the past. I'm going to say both of these games are really good. And I think both. I'll go on a hot take that both games are decided by a field goal.
I think what's interesting is when you say semifinals have been disappointing, I think the spread has played a role twice in the history of the college football playoff in the semifinals. So like if you play Ohio State, of course, grab the 7, but you should play some money line. Yeah. If you like Michigan, don't tease it down to 0. If you like TCU, play some money line. I mean, the spread has been such a non-factor in semifinals.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind your over. Lean that way as well. Might play some there. And from just from a matchup perspective. And then I also think I agree. I think Day's going to be super aggressive, which is good here. Yep. And Ohio State can go in here playing loose. They have no pressure on them, nothing to lose, which I think benefits them in a high pressure game like this. Georgia's going to be ready. I think that Georgia pulls this out by a field goal. That's my prediction, but I'm happily taking the 7 if it gets there. If it doesn't, I'll 6.5, or if I can buy a cheap 7. But I like Ohio State here. I think the line's inflated because of what everyone saw in that Ohio State Michigan game. So I think the final scores have been misleading. But again,
I'm completely with you on Ohio State. I'll buy it at 7 also. There's some soft shops out there that are sitting on it now if you want to hit your you want to hit the max limit bet there at a couple dimes. But I just for the pure entertainment of Ohio State and Michigan meeting in the national championship game, SoFi, a seat in SoFi is going to run like $10,000. I mean, it's going to be the most ridiculous. If that's what happens, college football is going to get a treat.